Power of love. So let's find all about it. Would you welcome Stuart? Thank you, Stuart. Yours?
Thank you. I've even got the pink cup today, Reverend Bill. Did you notice that?
Ah,
Above and beyond. Okay, I have a little clicker here because we have no one on. So make sure it's going to work. Oh, it's going to work. So the power of the month for April is love. Love is the ability to attract, desire, and unify. And the affirmation is, I am a center of love. The location of the body is the heart, and the apostle is John. So I wanted to start with a Fillmore quote, which I think is really amazing. The value of all service lies in the spirit in which you serve, and not in the importance or magnitude of the service. Even the lowliest task or deed is made holy, joyous, and prosperous when it is filled with love. Amazing quote. I'm going to read that one more time. The value of all service lies in the spirit in which you serve, and not in the importance or magnitude of the service. Even the lowliest task or deed is made holy, joyous, and prosperous when it is filled with love. That's kind of the crux of what I'm going to talk about. So Fillmore's emphasizing serving for the joy of it to attract prosperity. He defines love as a unifying force in the divine mind. So I wanted to look at the metaphysical definition of love. So I went to the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, which was written by Charles Fillmore. And this is what I found. Love is a divine attribute. It is an idea in the one mind. God is love, and love is God, or a quality in being. The difference between divine love and human love is that divine love is broad and unlimited, a universal and harmonizing power. Human love is based on personality and is selfish, lawless, and fickle. All right, the last part tricking me a bit because I'm hoping my own love isn't selfish, lawless, and fickle. But, that's what it says in the Metaphysical Dictionary. So I want to speak briefly on Unity's perspective on love. Love is an active spiritual power centered in the heart, unifying, healing, and bringing harmony to all aspects of life. Love is viewed as God power in action, a constructive force that transcends human emotions to see the divine, inherent goodness in all people and situations. I almost took the word God out because I know some people get a bit triggered by the word God from previous experiences in churches. So you could replace that with the divine mind. Love is viewed as divine power and action. So unity differentiates between personal love, which is conditional and ego-driven, and divine love, which is unconditional, impersonal, and flows from source. Love is the great harmonizer and healer, binding the human family together. Nothing other than God, divine mind, exists, and that we're all connected. True love does not depend on the worthiness of the receiver. Love is associated with the heart, which acts as a distributor of life-giving sustenance to one's thinking, feeling nature. Now, I found this part interesting too. Love should always be paired with wisdom. When you're learning the 12 powers in Unity National School, they talk about pairing together different powers to achieve different ends. And I found this really interesting. Love should always be paired with wisdom. Love without wisdom can be foolish or easily misled, while wisdom without love is cold. I thought that was really profound. Love should always be paired with wisdom. Love without wisdom can be foolish or easily misled, while wisdom without love is cold. Love is not passive. It's a process moving through us in our attitudes, our words, and our actions. I like that too. So it's kind of self-evident in our own deeds. That thing where people say, watch what someone does, not what they say. Watch their examples, what they're actually practicing and living. Now, this is an important one too, which I kind of overlooked a bit, self-love. Practicing self-love is foundational as it creates a baseline to measure and offer love to others. That's a real key for me because if I can't feel the love for myself, how am I going to radiate it to others? How am I going to know what love is? So I'll move on to how do we practice love? And this is still within unity perspective. Looking past appearances and behavior to behold the divine spirit within every person. So I'll read that one again because I want to make a comment on that one. Looking past appearances and behavior to behold the divine spirit in every person. Now, I'm always learning lessons. I haven't arrived at some amazing, spiritual. I don't think it ever ends. I think you just keep learning. And I still have situations with people where I get a little frustrated and I wonder why did they treat me that way or why were they like this? And then later on, I learn something about them which softens my heart. I hear about some sort of trauma they've been through, or they tell me about some situation they're in. And then I think I could have made a better choice when I was feeling irritated and I snapped at them. I could have been more loving. I could have chosen love. And this is one of my lessons in life. I'm still learning it all the time. So it needs the wisdom though. So the love and the wisdom. So I want to use both powers and just be a bit more patient. And I don't actually have to know the background of someone's situation to choose loving. This is what I'm learning. I'm sharing my own learnings right now. I can still choose. I don't have to find out what their background is or what they've been through in order to decide, am I going to be loving or am I not going to be loving? So that's one of the lessons I've been learning. Using affirmations to cultivate a loving consciousness, such as I welcome love, joy, success, health, wisdom, abundance, and harmony into my life right now. Through the silence, thank you, Regina. That was fantastic talking about silence. We connect with indwelling Christ. That's a big one. And this next one relates to what I was talking about myself before. Actively releasing grievances is essential. It removes the mental junk that blocks the flow of love. I've had to release a lot of things from the past and I'm still doing it. And I'm not making excuses, just things that happened to me in the past, I work through, and it's a continual learning process, but I like it. So this one really, this really speaks to me too. Actively releasing grievances is essential. It removes the mental junk that blocks the flow of love. Engaging in acts of compassion and service rather than focusing on self-centered needs. So that's, I love that quote there that really relates to that very much. So Unity teaches that by opening our hearts and aligning with this divine magnet of love, we can transform personal and collective inharmonies into a state of wholeness and peace. That's my summary of what I've just been talking about. So I'll read that again. Unity teaches that by opening our hearts and aligning with this divine magnet of love, there's the attraction, we can transform personal and collective inharmonies into a state of wholeness and peace. Now, I've got an Emerson quote for you. I heard this before I even knew whose quote it was, and it hit me pretty hard. The love that you withhold is the pain that you carry. How powerful is that? The love that you withhold is the pain that you carry. So the next thing I'm going to read is from unity.org, and it was written by Sarah Crawford. So this is a quote here from the website. Charles and Myrtle Fillmore were greatly influenced by the work of Ralph Waldo Emerson, the transcendental essayist, philosopher, and poet. In 1889, in Modern Thought, which later became Unity magazine, they explained Emerson's work. And this is a quote from Charles and/or Myrtle. All students of metaphysics should read Emerson. His writings contain the essence of all the higher thought that we are now being lavishly given to the world. Emerson anticipates the modern school of metaphysics and gives voice in his essays to all the truths which have been formulated in divine science. Wow, that's big. And I understand why when I read something like that. The love that you withhold is the pain that you carry. How straight to the point is that? So that's the end of the quote from them. And then I've written, the Fillmores were such fans of Ralph. Oh no, this is part of the quote, beg your pardon, this is still from Sarah. The Fillmores were such fans of Ralph Waldo Emerson that years before Unity was founded, they named one of their sons after him, Waldo Rickett Fillmore. Emerson was also frequently quoted by Charles Fillmore. Interestingly, Charles often paired Emerson's work with quotes from or references to Jesus. Okay, that's moved me on to love as per Jesus. I've had titled this part. And I want to read the parable of the Good Samaritan to you, if you don't mind. This is from Luke 10, 25, 37. For context, the religious leaders of the day used to constantly challenge Jesus to get him into trouble. And he always had amazing answers. So on one occasion, an expert in the law stood up to test Jesus. Teacher, he said, what must I do to inherit eternal life? What's written in the law? He replied. How do you read it? Brilliant already. He's asking questions. He answered, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. You have answered correctly, Jesus replied. Do this and you will live. But he wanted to justify himself, so he asked Jesus, and who is my neighbor? In reply, Jesus said, a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed on the other side. So too a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed on the other side. They didn't want to get involved. Don't get involved. Don't even look. We just walk on the other side and go, but we didn't see anything. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came from where the man was, and he saw him. He took pity on him. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he put the man on his own donkey, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper. Look after him, he said, and when I return, I'll reimburse you for any extra expenses you may have had. Which of these 3 do you think was the neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of the robbers? That's what Jesus is asking the expert. The expert in the law replied, the one who had mercy on him. Jesus told him, go and do likewise. Wow, that's powerful. So I went deeper and went back to the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary to look up the metaphysical meaning of neighbor. This is what I found. This is amazing. Even I was surprised by the answer. Who is my neighbor? Every soul that dwells upon the earth is your neighbor. There is no such thing as distance in spirit, nor in the operation of spiritual laws. Through us must the law of divine love bind us and heal wounds, dissolve error, restore light and order from out of the chaos. I'm going to read that again. I was shocked. It was straight to the point, which I actually liked. So I looked up the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, which was written by Charles Fillmore, for the definition of neighbor, and this is what I read. Every soul that dwells upon the earth is your neighbor. There is no such thing as distance in spirit or in the operation of spiritual laws. Through us must the law of divine love bind up and heal wounds, dissolve error, and restore light and order out of the chaos. Now, John is associated with, that's the Apostle John I'm talking about, with April and the power of love. And I went down a bit of a rabbit hole finding out why was John considered the apostle who Jesus loved? So Apostle John is known as the apostle of love because in his writings and life, Apostle John is known as the apostle of love because his writings and life work were heavily focused on the theme of love. John experienced a significant personal transformation, moving from a temperamental son of thunder, that's what Jesus called him and his brother, to a devoted follower of Jesus who deeply understood and communicated God's love. So in John's own gospel, John refers to himself in the third person as the disciple whom Jesus loved, or the beloved disciple, rather than using his own name. This wasn't out of arrogance, but rather to show humility and to emphasize that his primary identity was being a recipient of Jesus' love. The Gospel of John and his three epistles, so there's 1, 2, and 3 John as well, are saturated with three themes of love, using the word love more than 80 times, far more than any other New Testament book. In 1 John 4:8, John famously states, God is love. Originally, Jesus nicknamed John and his brother the sons of thunder, likely due to their fiery, impulsive tempers. Through his time with Jesus, John's zealous nature was transformed into a focus on love. Now, I didn't know this part. This was new to me, and I've been thinking about this ever since I read it. John is the only one of the original 12 apostles recorded as being present at the crucifixion, displaying loyalty and love in the face of fear. Wow, that tells me something about him. Now, there's no judgment from me here too, because if I was one of the apostles, I probably would have gone running too. Do you know Jesus? You were with Jesus, weren't you, Stuart? No, I don't think so. I mean, there's a lot of people that look like me. I've got a very normal, no, definitely not. I probably would have done that, to be honest with you. But I'm super impressed by John. John is the only one of the original 12 apostles recorded as being present at the crucifixion, displaying loyalty and love in the face of fear. Wow. There's more. While on the cross, Jesus entrusted the care of his own mother Mary to John, highlighting the deep trust and affection between them. Okay, I'm on board with this, the apostle that Jesus loved. At first, I was wondering, why is he calling himself that? But now, when I dug deeper, I understood why. And this was new to me too. According to church tradition, in his old age, this is John at Ephesus, John was often carried to church and spoke only one sentence. Like children, love one another. That's what he'd say. So John emphasizes the selfless love, agape, that comes from God rather than the mere emotional or friendly affection. John teaches that love is not just words, but action. I can see that by the fact that he was there during the crucifixion. John constantly urges Christians to love one another as a reflection of their knowledge of God. Essentially, John's life and writings show that he was deeply impacted by Jesus' affection, making him a model for sharing that love. Okay, the attracting power of love. And I've got another slide, which everyone's heard before. If you've been to any wedding, you almost always hear this. So love as a law of attraction involves cultivating self-love and radiating positive emotions to attract positive outcomes, shifting the focus from needing love to feeling whole. It's based on the principle that like attracts like, where high vibrational feelings like gratitude and joy attract positive relationships. Here's one, while insecurity or past trauma blocks them. I want to read that again. Here's the tricky part for me included. I need to be radiating what I'm wanting to receive. So that makes sense why the affirmations that have the word now, right now, because it needs to be the state that I'm in now. So here's my summary here of this part. Love as a law of attraction involves cultivating self-love and radiating positive emotions to attract positive outcomes. Shifting the focus from needing love in a needing vibration to feeling whole. It's based on the principle that like attracts like, where high vibration feelings like gratitude and joy attract positive relationships while insecurity or past trauma blocks them. I don't mean that to sound victim shaming. It's not supposed to mean, you've had trauma in your life, so now you've got trouble with relationships. Because this affects me too. I've had certainly a trauma in my past. But if I can change my vibration, then I can attract, like attracting like rather than attracting more pain. So key principles of love attraction. Be the love you seek by embodying the love, respect, and energy you want to attract rather than searching for it from a place of lack. And I'd like to finish with this beautiful verse from 1 Corinthians, which is love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always preserves. Love never fails, but where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. Thank you so much.
Well, how illuminating was that? Thank you, Stuart. Oh my goodness, now it's your turn.